Yeah, good morning to all of you. Today we just wanted to discuss about blended finance. All of us know the capital, what we have, the foundation, or what we call it, is the lifeblood of any business activity. The capital, what we have for a business or for personal in nature, can be raised through either through debt or through equity. So the debt finance or debt financing is always cheaper than equity financing because of the tax advantage what the debt has got. So before the company or any the person who is employing debt, he has got always tax advantage because he pays the interest and then the tax is paid. So in such case, the debt financing is always cheaper than the equity financing. So equity financing doesn't have the debt tax advantage. But we'll talk about the blended financing. Here, we mix both public and private financing. So you have public funds and your private funds. So here, what is called public funds? Public funds means the funds that we raise, the government raises through, government or government-based organizations raise funds. It is called public financing. Then your private financing. Private financing means private companies or private organizations raise funds. So when we combine together, then it is called the blended capital, or we call it as a blended financing. So what's the advantage when you have both public and private financing? When you have both in a capital, what is a great advantage? Because at the public financing, you have the it is called long-term advantage, long-term benefit. Because whenever the government invests, government may not require the immediate return. Government requires very long-term return. But whereas the private organizations, when they invest funds, they require the immediate return. So when we combine both, then there will be a greater advantage for the project that we invest and for the society at large. So the blended financing, has got a lot of advantage than the private financing or the public financing. So thank you very much for this great opportunity.
The concept of blended finance has gained prominence in the last decade as a strategic approach to mobilize private capital for sustainable development. Despite continued efforts and increased spending by the government and an unprecedented spurt in philanthropy towards enabling more inclusive and sustainable development, India still faces a huge funding gap to be able to achieve the SDGs and address climate action requirements. Blended finance lets investors choose different risk tolerances while all participating in the same project. This approach can bring together philanthropy, government funding, and private sector investors with different risk and return expectations. Those willing to take more risk can act as a capital cushion for investors who need to take less risk but are interested in financing high impact projects. This kind of flexibility is especially important when considering developing nations where sustainable finance could have an outsized impact on social and environmental issues.
The blended finance market in India is experiencing great growth in the recent years. Currently, we find an annual growth rate of 18.8%, and it stands at 1.1 billion US dollars currently. India's market share at the global level is 4.3%, and in Asia it is 40%. We find a great potential for the blended finance market, so there is a lot of innovation that is happening, and everything is at the early stage. Since the transaction cost is very low, the ticket size is very low, we find the potential to be increasing greatly.
The India Climate Change Investment Facility is a partnership between IFC, United Kingdom, and HSBC. This provides debt financing for renewable energy and energy efficient projects. The facility has mobilized close to $1 billion US dollars of in private capital and has supported 3.6 gigawatts of clean energy capacity. The India Innovation Fund is a venture capital fund that invests in early stage technology companies that addresses social and environmental challenges. The fund is supported by concessional capital that's received from Rockefeller Foundation and the Government of India, as well as supported by commercial capital from Cisco, SIDBI, and others. The fund has invested in 14 companies across sectors in health, education, agriculture, and energy. The India Education Outcome Fund is a result based financing mechanism that pays for improved learning outcomes in the education sector. The fund is backed by philanthropic donors such as Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, the Omidyar Network, and the British Asian Trust, and works with service providers, intermediaries, and governments to deliver quality education to millions of children around the world.
Blended finance can attract private sector investment by providing a financial structure that balances risk and return. The inclusion of concessional capital can make the overall investment proposition more appealing to private investors, encouraging them to participate in projects that align with sustainable development goals.
Blended finance initiatives frequently involve association between the governments, international organizations, philanthropic association, and global private sectors. So this global collaboration aims to ensure they are pooling resources to address the complex developmental needs. But then, despite of its potential benefits, this blended finance faces challenges, which includes the need for better risk assessment, and then to aligning with the local priorities, and also ensuring that the benefits of these projects are aligned with inclusion and sustainability.
Blended finance is a contribution to economy. It has marked 18.8% to the Indian economy, with a growth rate of 3.2% in comparison to the Asia's cumulative growth rate to be 40%.
As we all know, there is a gap in funding for the infrastructure development and for research projects and for other requirements in the country. So due to big issues like Ukraine and then like Israel and due to like several earthquakes, there are like countries are not ready to fund for the development of the economy. So UNESCO have introduced recently called so as the economy is facing a lag in funding from the countries, UNESCO introduced a new form of funding called like blended funding. So in this blended funding or blended finance helps the countries to invest both by the public sector as well as private sector, and it will be a huge benefit for the economy. So as you know that there are a lot of natural calamities and there are many more war zones which are happening, as like Ukraine, Israel. Those calamities like leads to a lot of pressure in the country's economy standard. So they were like not ready to fund. So UNESCO have introduced this blended funding. So this helps the country to develop with help of private participants as well as the public sector participants for a greater economic growth.
Blended finance can encourage innovations, financing structures, and business models by bringing together public and private partners. It creates an opportunity for collaboration and the development of new approaches to addressing development challenges.
Okay, finally, we come to a conclusion. How to implement this blended finance in corporates, especially for using the CSR funds, that is corporate social responsibility. After having a nice discussion with these faculty members, we come to a conclusion. If you want to implement this blended finance, we have to attract the investors, especially the private investors. We have to give importance. So if you want to attract investors, we have to de-risk the financial instruments. How to de-risk? There are also some procedures. We can go for credit guarantee. We can go for first loss guarantee and also for the political risk insurance. If we de-risk the blended finance concept, definitely it will attract the private people. So the private investors will automatically come. Definitely the blended finance will be success. So as a conclusion, if blended financing concept is meant to be successful for implementing the SDG goals in infrastructure, we need a good method of financing. This blended finance, as the faculty members mentioned, it is the concept which links public, private, and other sources. We can reduce the risk, and definitely the SDG goals will be implemented as planned. With this, we conclude our podcast. Thank you.